All right, for those of you not traveling by plane this weekend, you'll likely be hitting the road in your car. I want to bring in Francesca Amaker now with an update on the gas shortages in our area, and we're still seeing some out there, correct?
Yeah, keep in mind, Sheba, 20 days ago was when that cyber attack happened on the Colonial Pipeline, the Russian attackers, and today we're still feeling that impact as we head into holiday weekend. Now, Gas Buddy reporting 25% of gas stations all across Georgia, they're still dry. Last week this time, I told you that 30% of stations did not have gas. Now, AAA is encouraging people not to panic buy this weekend. And right now, the average price that you're going to pay at the pump for unleaded gas, at least, is $2.93 a gallon. And we have new developments coming from that pipeline attack. For the very first time, U.S. pipeline operators will be required to conduct cybersecurity assessments. It's part of the directive from the Biden administration. The Transportation Security Administration directive, released over the past 24 hours, mandates the owners and operators of the nation's pipelines report any cyber incidents to the federal government. They'll also be required to have a cybersecurity coordinator available at all times to work with authorities if there's another attack like the one on Colonial. Now, the Alpharetta-based company admitted to paying more than $4 million in ransom to resume Operation Sheba.